I'm going to do my intro.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Brad Bodnar-Chuck, and welcome to the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast, where we discuss everything hospitality, from the food on the plate to the teams that make it happen and the community that drives this industry forward. On this podcast, we sit down and chat with some of the most exciting, inspiring, and innovative minds that make up one of the most dynamic industries that there is today. And today, I have the pleasure of being joined by none other than Mr. Josh Vanderhide. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
We are sat here on a beautiful, sunny, Thursday morning.
Yep.
In East Abbey, otherwise known as East Abbotsford.
Yep.
Go ahead.
We're rebranding Abbotsford to Abbey.
Okay, cool. And we are, I'm lucky enough to be invited into Josh's space where him and his team have created Field House Brewing.
Correct.
Cool. So we're here and I feel extremely lucky, and it's a bit surreal. Bit of a quick backstory. Josh and I go a few years back, and actually my first kind of exposure to Josh, as far as what Josh did in a previous life, was he helped me with my original side hustle entrepreneurial thing where I was making t-shirts with a buddy of mine, and it was a really bad name. But Josh was kind enough to bring us in and help us make it look better than it was. And now in 2018, we're sitting in this amazing business that he's built in an industry that I never envisioned you'd populate, but I'm so excited to dive into that today, and so excited to share more stories about this industry because it's truly a passion of mine. And before we turn the mics on, I'm learning how it either has been for a long time or at least has become more of a passion for you. So fill in that blank for us. Fill in the story of how do you, Josh, go from the background that you had to one day deciding I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, into the hospitality industry, into brewing, into beer. What happened and how did this all occur?
Yeah, I think that's something I sort of reflect on right now because it's weird how I fell into where I am today a little bit because I didn't start with this in mind, and often I think that's where good things happen, is when you just are open to how things come to be. The way I ended up here was I started actually in advertising, marketing, design, and I worked for big, large, sort of national clients, and then really just kind of really didn't like where that was going. I just wasn't inspired by these big national campaigns in the world of advertising, which was about maybe selling you things that you don't need, and it just didn't feel right. So I moved out of that into more smaller businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, and that's where I got to see the passion and the craft of these people. And so I ran a small design studio in Gastown, and that's where we sort of met kind of in the process. And we worked with entrepreneurs, and we worked with people that wanted to bring things to life. And what we did was we helped, give them direction and give them a brand and give them the tools they needed to be successful. Because maybe you're good at building something or making something, or you've got a great idea, but that needs to materialize in a way that can go into the world that considers the trends and landscapes and everything. But where we sort of evolved into was me and my partner, Jesse Bannister, who's also involved in the hospitality business, doing a new project coming out called Provincial Spirits. Really cool project.
Shout out Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse. So we started working with a lot of wineries, distilleries, craft breweries, restaurants, and we just loved this industry of experience and creative products and design and art and spaces. And so that was kind of where our sort of niche followed. And through that process, I got introduced to a lot of craft breweries, and we worked on the early days with guys like Steel and Oak. We helped rebrand Fernie, Yellow Dog originally, bunch of other local breweries that were starting up just not that long ago. And I guess eventually we just watching this happen and watching these industries develop, and you're like, hey, I want to be part of this thing. And we always talk about to our staff when they come on and say, this craft beer industry, it performs like no other industry in that everybody helps each other out. Everybody's in it to support each other. We all know that the collaboration together is going to help us, work against the big guys. And that's not every industry. And that's the only reason I jumped in kind of head first and left the whole career behind to go into hospitality, which I originally started in.
Right. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Working in Earl's restaurants and different things.
Right. So this industry as a whole isn't foreign to you. Just for a while, you you were populating a completely different space in advertising and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the experience, or at least you understand what you want to create when people enter a room as far as the definition of hospitality. You mentioned something I found kind of interesting, and I'm just going to paraphrase it a bit, talking about the craft beer industry and how everyone kind of works together. It's different than what I've heard from restaurant specific. And let's talk just about chefs for a second. There can be a natural instinct or desire to operate in silos, whether it's ego driven or whatever. So there's these silos that are around our province and around our city that I think are really holding the industry back. Do you feel like from the get-go of Fieldhouse being a business and maybe even the craft beer industry being a thing, has it always been that way, or has there been a conscious effort to knock down those walls because you guys as a collective see the benefit of not having silos, of acting as one, and really, like you said, challenging the bigger players in this beer industry overall?
Yeah, I think craft beer, to me, in my experience, has always been that way. And I think what it's done is it's demonstrated that this is a model to be followed and that it works. You know, you've seen the growth of craft beer go from, 0 to 100 in such a short period of time. And it's because everybody's working together and creating a culture that has a chance to fight against the big guys. If we parlay that over to the restaurant scene, I would say, and this isn't against anything, but I mean, the independent, restaurants and hospitality businesses, need to work together against maybe some of the bigger chains, the national chains or the big chains that are the other alternatives. And it's the same sort of parallel relationship. And I think if we don't work together, we're not going to work together to have the food culture that we want to have. And that requires collaboration. That requires breaking down walls. And we're super focused on that around here. Is how do we work with these local businesses? How do we collaborate with them? How do we do events together? How do we hang out together? How do we spend time building relationships so that we can have the food culture we want? And that's, in our world in the Valley, that's what we're trying to do.
So yeah, what does that look like tangibly for you? Like you mentioned events and working together, but what does that look like day in and day out? Can you give anyone kind of a taste of or an idea of what that would look like in regards to collaborating or working as a group? Like, is there any other brewery that you've done activations with that you felt was really beneficial for both parties or the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, on the brewery side, you just see it's becoming the norm to look at these collaborations. And we've done so many fun collaborations working with amazing breweries that, as we're still one of the new guys in the scene, being only a couple of years old, and working with guys like Four Winds and Brass Neck and Steel and Oak and Steamworks, so many leaders in the industry. And it's amazing that you've got these big guys, and they're not big compared to like the Budweiser guys, but they're reaching out a hand and saying, hey, we'll get you started. We'll help you out. We'll work together on some projects. And if you share that same passion that we do, let's work together and do something fun. And we're seeing that all over the place. I would love to see that move into the restaurant space. Chefs working together, putting together dinners. Collaborating. We see those types of events out here in the Valley. We have amazing relationships with all the local restaurants. Restaurant 62. Jeff Massey and Matt Nichols there doing amazing stuff with local farms, and we've worked events with them side by side, putting together great food on a plate for long farm to table dinners. And like those evenings are magic, when you've got just people putting aside that you're a restaurant and we're competing or whatever you perceive to just build something beautiful for people, and that's exciting.
Yeah, that's very cool. That sounds very whimsical as well. Do you think that model or that mindset can exist in a busy cosmos city like a Vancouver, like a Toronto, like a Montreal? Or is it just you need to be the thicker skin and a little more motivated to see it through, because there will be challenges?
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak to that. I just, I know our market. I know the people in our market. I know what's driving the food culture out here. And I just don't know enough about the Vancouver market to know if that's possible. But we were just talking about, before we started, about some of the industry events and awards, like is it the Owl?
Yeah, the Owl. Yeah, the Owl Awards, yeah.
And, we're just saying about how important that is to get people together in a room. Maybe you go away and, I talk a lot about collaboration because I think it's an important concept, but there's a little bit of an inkling of healthy competition, which is not, we're gonna beat those guys out so we can win the race or
Right.
win the best restaurant or whatever.
Right.
But more in the way that like, hey, let's all step up our game. Like let's look at other people and go, hey, we should step up our game because these guys over here stepping their game up, not because we're trying to put them out of business, but because that encourages us and drives us and inspires us to be better. And that's a good thing. That's a good way to look at competition.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And the people that benefit from that are not only the business, the staff members, the team, but also your consumers, your clients. Like literally the entire environment benefits from that. And I've said this before a few times on this show, so pardon me if I'm boring you with repeating myself, but I use the model of this gentleman that's very prominent in the physical fitness and gym industry, and he owns multiple gyms throughout the state of California. And he always says he welcomes competition. He loves when someone moves in next door and opens up a new gym, because it forces him to look at himself, his business, how he's running things, and if they're really busy, why isn't he busy? What is he missing? What can he learn from them? And then step his game up. And at the end of the day, he's going to give his customer, his client, an even better product because he's being being kind of brought up, and the cream's going to rise to the top. Yeah. So I think there is such a thing as, you know what? I don't know if like wanting to be the best is necessarily the greatest way to say it, but I think there's no shame in pushing the envelope, right? And pushing the industry and demanding more out of yourself, your team, and then also the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I do think though that, I mean, and this might be semantics, but like the concept of being the best implies that somebody is not the best. And
correct.
That's, and I think what we look at is, more the rising tide lifts all ships. Would we rather be in a market where we're the best hospitality business, or would we rather be in a market where we've got a lot of awesome hospitality businesses? We would take the latter in that, we just want to be working side by side with great people in this community to do good things. And I don't care who's the best. It doesn't matter. What matters is, are we pushing each other and we driving things forward. So
holistically. Yeah.
So we actually talked a lot about the word best, and we said we don't want to use that word because it implies this idea that someone's losing out, and we don't want to look at that way.
Yeah, and I think that's really well put. Excuse me. As someone who cares really deeply about this industry and is extremely motivated by success and watch people succeed in this industry, I don't want to see anyone not succeed. I want to see everyone succeed. So I think you put it really, really well. What was your quote about the rising tides?
Rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. I feel like that should be a tattoo somewhere on my body.
It probably is a tattoo. Yeah. No shortage of sailor tattoos around.
Let's go back for a second to talking about your experience with marketing and advertising. And when I was first exposed to this brand being Fieldhouse, and just looking at, looking at the packaging itself, how important, or how can I say this? How important was that to you, achieving that certain look? And did that come first, or did what's in the bottle come first? For you, what's more important?
Yeah, I think it's funny coming from a background in packaging design and marketing, and in a weird way in this business, not how little we focus on it, but that it is really the complementary element to our product. And we said that we always want to start at the core of making a great product. And we've been so lucky to find people within this business that can make great products. And I mean, I can say that because I'm not the guy,
yeah.
or the girl, that does that on the everyday basis. But I'm so inspired by the people that work here and make amazing products. From Parker Reed, our head brewer, and the whole brew team. I mean, they started it with the types of beers that we talked about making, and he was the one that brought it to life. I mean, full 100% credit to Parker that. He brewed those beers in my garage, and I remember him bringing them in to me and being like, "Try this," and I was like, "It's amazing!" And it's like the same beers that we still have on the board up here, which is so cool. We've done 1 million beers after that, but
right.
All at the same attention to detail and quality. And then, Bonnie Friesen, who came on and joined with us in the 2017 and created our food program here, focused on all local suppliers, focused on being a scratch kitchen, and then passing on to Josh Spiker, our head chef now, and Bonnie's taking on some new challenges and exploring things around. We have a farm project that we're working on developing as a model between a farm and a restaurant or retail business. And Josh Spiker's taken over the lead, and he's focused on innovation. He's working with a great team back there too. So I guess for me, the product is where we want to invest our energy, and coming from the world of marketing, I've realized that the successful businesses were the ones who invested in product development, and then you deliver it, in a package that makes sense. And our packaging isn't out there; it's not crazy. It's designed to be, relevant today and relevant hopefully in 5 years from now, kind of thing. That we don't have to make changes and rebrand just to sell more product. We should try to invest in our product to sell more product.
Right. How would you describe what you guys are doing here, be it the food, be it the beer, the branding, the touch points when you walk into this space, to someone that hasn't tried Fieldhouse yet, hasn't been exposed to Fieldhouse yet? Maybe they're listening in, I don't know, in the US or across the country. How would you summarize what Fieldhouse Brewing is, or what your goal is to be?
Oh man, there's a lot of things in there to summarize into one thing. I mean, there's sort of three elements to our concept, and it's we in a fun way, in a marketing kind of way, we say good beers, good eats, good times.
Yeah.
But those represent three parts of our product. The good beers is our beverage program, and where we work with not only our beer, but we bring in some of the best local suppliers like Left Field Cider and Whispering Horse Winery, who makes amazing local wine in our community, and other local wineries that we've featured. And so that's our beverage program. And then Good Eats is our focused on both working with our local farms here, partners, and as well as our farm project to deliver. If you want good food on a plate, you got to start with where it comes from, and it comes from the ground, and you got to be invested in that. And so we've invested resources into that because we believe that equals better flavor, and that there's a better sensibility around where this food comes from, and we want to give our chefs the best food to work with, and connect them with farms and our local suppliers. And then Good Times is I think, with part of your product offering, that's our experience, and we want people to come here and have an experience that's unique. It's different. It's not better or the best.
Yeah.
What we always say is our experience is unique to us, and that means we've got a 3,000 square foot lawn that's like your backyard, except there's a brewery next to it. We've got a kids fort out on the other side there, so kids can play while people sit on the lawn or listen to local music. We've got a local music stage. We've got a big covered patio for when it rains. And then inside the tasting room is we could say sort of modern farmhouse. It's meant to represent something that fits in Abbotsford, but is also progressive and fresh and new and different. And we're sitting in front of our wood burning fireplace, and I guess one of the concepts we like to sum it up is a sense of home in some ways. And the front, the grass is like our backyard, and this is like our living room. And when you walk in, and being that this is a podcast about hospitality, that you should be treated the way you treat people when they walk in your home. You don't have people walk in your home. He's like, "Hi, my name's Josh. I'll be your homeowner tonight."
Right.
It's terrible. You greet people. You offer them a drink. You ask if you can get them something. If they have kids, you're like, "Hey, hey kids, we got a fort out on the side there."
Yeah.
You treat them like the people that come into your home. And I think if we do that, then we treat people with in the right way.
How do you define, and maybe you just did, but how do you, Josh, yourself, define hospitality? Does it look different from if you're on the floor here than you are at home, or is it that line is very blurred, like there's not a big difference? How do you define hospitality in your home and out in your business?
Yeah, because I listen to your podcast, and I've heard it come up, those definitions of hospitality. And I guess one thing that we like to talk about is that we don't really talk about service in a traditional sense, and I know that's a big concept in hospitality, but service can lead into servants, and we don't look at that model. We look at our staff and our customers being on the same level, and that if our staff is enjoying themselves and then feels comfortable with those people coming in, then they're going to do a great job, and those customers are going to have a good time. Now, do we nail it 100% of the time? Of course not. We don't. But I do think that this idea that there's a difference between serving a person and hosting a person. And hosting a person is being welcoming, and it's a sense of empathy, and it's a sense of understanding what does that person need in the moment, to feel comfortable or to feel valued. And I think that's important. The concept we work with is this idea of thoughtful hospitality. Hospitality is the hosting part, and that we're on the same level with these people. The thoughtfulness is that, it's not about being perfect and how you do things. It's about the attention to detail, the little details of how do you address someone's need in a thoughtful way, so that there's an impact there.
Yeah, I think attention and intention are like the biggest pieces of this industry. Like, what you have to be paying attention, and you need to really focus on what is your intention as a business as a whole. And that's going to obviously, as the person that is, I would say, like heading up this team, for lack of a better term, it all kind of trickles down. And how they see you carry yourself in the business and how they see you carry yourself in the community is going to really hopefully resonate with them, and then be replicated when people come into the business, and they'll feel like they want to do as Josh does, and as Fieldhouse Brewing does as a whole. One thing I wanted to talk about quickly was, and I'm really intrigued about this, and this is a bit of a selfish question, and I asked this question to Trevor Bird a few weeks ago, as he's a father. I'm now a father. You're a father of 3, an entrepreneur, someone who has a lot of demands on themselves. You're not a father, you're a partner, you're a businessman, you're a leader, all these things. How do you, one, find the balance of growing business, starting new businesses, and 2, do you ever deal with any guilt? And what I mean by that is guilt being away from your family, guilt being not there for all of those things. I'll let you kind of pipe in there and give your thoughts on those 2 questions.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being fully honest, I mean, I don't think I've found balance yet.
Right.
So I mean, and I appreciate that Trevor's done he's done a great job, and I have a ton of respect for Trevor. And it's been just a brief time meeting with him and chatting with him, and I think he's doing great things, and that's not to say that I'm not working on these things either. I read a lot, I think a lot about my days and how I try to balance things. I don't know I'm totally there yet. We're a new business, and we're still going through things, and we're still growing and trying to be a better version of ourselves. I think as we settle into a rhythm and our team does, I think we'll achieve that. And I'm okay with that. I think that things take time, and you got to put the work in, and then you'll get there, and you'll maybe be in that sweet spot. So I'm working on it all the time, but that doesn't mean that I don't protect my time. I think what I try to do is be there and be present for my kids and my wife when we have that time. And we now as a father, like there's times when the kids need you, and it's not at after 9 o'clock. It's not. There's times of the day. So
right.
I end up having a schedule that is mixed up and chopped into pieces and everything, but it's my schedule and it works for me, and it enables me to be at my kids' assemblies during the day, and because I got to switch a couple meetings around or whatever it is, but I get to do everything I need to do for my kids and for my family. But it means that I work a different type of schedule, and that's fine
right.
because I can that allows me to do both, and I want to do both.
So because of that attention to detail and the intentions that you have when you're doing those things, do you experience any guilt when you're here and not there, or when you're missing out on things? And how do you exercise that if you do?
Yeah, I think that second part, the guilt piece, I mean, there's definitely guilt when you can't be at something, but I also, if you're, I've got a, pretty very understanding wife, who,
yeah.
And she knows that these things are being done for the future of our family, and that's that there's something behind it. It's not that I just want to be a workaholic, or it's not just that I want to do all these things. You do these things because there's something, we're building something for our family. The other hand of guilt is in a changing business like ours, where I started this and I was in the tasting room. I was the one pouring beers, and a lot of staff now probably would laugh at that and be like, I got not in the tasting room. And I'm here every Friday from 12 to 3. If you ever want to come in, I pour beers. But I mean, there's guilt within even the company that I'm just not there for them, and even my team, like that I'm not there to support them enough because the business is growing and you're stretched thin, and I have family commitments. And so for me, that's also an area of guilt is just not being able to give everybody in this business what they need. Me personally, being able to do that.
Right. And what does that look like? Like walk us through a regular day? Obviously, you get up and you do a podcast every day.
Yeah, every day.
7 days a week.
That's right.
No, but seriously, what does a regular day in your life look like now? As before, you were probably doing more of like, you had your feet on the ground here, you were pouring the beers, you were kind of probably doing many different jobs. But now, where you've been able to afford to hire a team and bring people in to populate different spaces within this business, what does that allow you to do, and what are you finding yourself doing more than not, day in, day out?
Yeah. So what does a day look like? I mean, every day is a different adventure, I feel like. I mean, there's some, I can tell you more in maybe a week context. I mean,
okay.
My role has shifted a bit. I mean, we have Josh, who you met when you came in here, is taken on a new role to help, run the day-to-day operations of this business. And I'm so grateful for his support in that aspect, because, I've tried to decide what is the most important things that I need to be doing in this business right now. And those two things for me are, business development, developing the business, developing opportunities. And that's, not just to chase money. That's because we look at growth in this business driven by creating opportunities for our people.
Yes.
And if no one's growing this business, then those opportunities won't happen, or they'll evaporate and change, and we start losing people. And, I've heard you talk about, this industry and how tough it is to keep people. We work really hard on that, but I mean, if we don't provide opportunities for them to grow, we should expect them to leave and find new challenges. But we love all the people that work here, and we never want to see anybody go. And obviously, we high five and wish them well when they're off traveling or whatever they're doing, or on to their next thing. Mm-hmm. We also fully support that, but we also want to be a place where people want to stay.
Right.
This is something in the industry that we talk about when we do training or interviews, is that there's this notion that like hospitality jobs are the job before the job.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? That's terrible. It's terrible.
Right.
And the sad part is I believe that once upon a time too. And sitting in now across, on the other side of the coin, I'm trying to really change that and be like, this is a place where you can grow. This is a place where you can learn. This is a place where you can stay, really. And that's really important. So
I think something just kind of popped into my head as you were saying that is this is different. Fieldhouse is different, and not different like you guys are an anomaly in the space. There are a lot of people out there like you. What I mean by that is the mindset that you have as the person that's in charge of the business and developing business and all those things. You look at it as you want to create this. And again, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but you want to create this as an opportunity for people to stay with it if they want to. And there is opportunity to grow, where I don't think everyone else, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, and this is a general sweeping statement, had that mindset. And I feel like listening to you talk, and I had a fantastic podcast just last night with Paul Bain from Just Tea, a really cool local tea company that's helping out people in Kenya. Long story, but tune in to listen to that one. And I feel like people now, in the landscape we're in right now in this industry, where people are witnessing success is when they're not just motivated by the bottom dollar. They're motivated by creating some positive impact for their staff, for their community, and for the industry as a whole. Do you feel like your mindset is different than when you worked for the big company you worked for back then? Do you think they had that mindset when you were in the industry? Or does it evaporate as you grow? Or can you always hang on to, will Fieldhouse always hang on to this kind of manifesto or modus operandi, even when you guys are all over the world? Can you still do that?
Well, I think that it goes back to the other part of my job that I believe is my role. Two things I need to focus on is business development and people and culture. And if the person, that started the company or whatever it is, or anybody isn't focused on people and culture, then I think you're in trouble. So my job is to make sure that our culture continues in a healthy way, and it's okay that it changes. I mean, it's going to inevitably change. Cultures are a reflection of the people that are in those businesses, and everybody should come. And we want our whole team to help shape our culture here, and we want to invest in our people. So I think that is a shift from companies I worked for in hospitality businesses that weren't they were chasing making money and that's okay, and that there's those businesses designed for that. I know you talked a lot about the margins that exist in this business. So if the margins are small, then what are we doing here? And what we're doing here is working in an industry that we're passionate about, that creates value, it creates experiences for people, it creates products that add to people's lives. Like that's a worthy pursuit, and
that is margin. Do you know what I mean? Like that could be looked at as margin. That's value, right? It's just value in a different way.
Yeah, we need to. I mean, I'm just a big believer that we need to overall need to look at different reasons why business need to exist. It used to be this concept of the business existed for the benefit of the shareholders. To make money,
right?
Return for the shareholders. Mm-hmm. The new concept moving towards, and I didn't invent it, I'm just regurgitating, but that this business can create value for its stakeholders, and the stakeholders are the people who work here. The stakeholders are the people in this community. The stakeholders are, all the parts that this business can touch. And if we can create value, then our measure for success is different than making money.
Yeah, exactly. It goes beyond just the P&L form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
And we do that when we bring people in for training. We explain to them how our business works. We say, this is how our revenue works. This is how our cost of goods work. This is how our operating expenses. These are the percentages that we're being transparent with you because we owe that to you as people that work here. You understand how our business works. And at the bottom line, we're hoping to make a profit. And what's that profit for? It's so we can reinvest into this business and grow this business. And yeah, I think that's important to tell people the context of the business they're working in.
Do you feel like that resonates with a lot of people that you sit down with?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have never been told that before.
Yeah.
And I think through my learnings and I need to learn. I used to read and look at different concepts that I think would fit our business. Not everyone does. That we're trying to move towards more transparency around our business and how we're doing, because you can look in a business on the outside. I'm sure there's a ton of hospitality businesses, and people on the outside are like, "Oh man, it's amazing! You guys, how do you catch all the money from the full raining from the ceiling?"
Yeah.
And the reality is, many of those businesses aren't, financially at least, succeeding, but they are on a product development level, and maybe they are on a people development level. So I think that we want to be honest with everybody about where our business is at, so that they can make decisions around it, and so that when they're working, they get that, they get where it's going, and they get the challenges we're faced, and they get how it's growing. So if they want to grow with us, they have an understanding of that. Right.
I've been staring every once in a while at the photos you have here on the wall that I think, and again, feel free to interject, really kind of depict what this business is and what this company is. There's, for those of you that can't see it because it's behind the camera, and some of you don't watch this on YouTube, but there's photos of Josh and his team, and then there's sorry, what's your brewer's name again? Parker. I'm assuming that's him mixing the mash or whatever it is, and then you have people, it looks like in like a greenhouse. And how much of these do these photos truly represent what this business is for you? Like, does that depict what this business is for you?
100%. I mean, any brewery owners out there, restaurant owners out there that are listening, that your job is paperwork and liquor licensing and things that you just never thought you'd be doing. And walking into this place and seeing these people and hearing about their stories and what's going on in their lives is the reason, that you do all those other things. If you didn't have that, you're pushing paper, So yeah, for sure. I think people is and this is something I think to add on to this. I'm tired of people saying that people are our number one asset. It's our best thing,
right? But
they don't do anything about that. And we've made some conscious decisions, since we've grown in the company to develop new things. So we have a new leadership program that we've got 12 people going through right now
cool.
They signed up for it. They put an application in, and they said, "This is what I want to get out of it." And it's new and it's starting. We're going to learn how it goes. We're a kind of a month in, and it's 6 months, and it's about to learn about yourself first, and then together as a group talk about your strengths and weaknesses, and then to kind of reflect back and be like, what could I do with this? Where am I going with this? If that's a field house or not a field house, it doesn't matter to us, but that creates value for the people that are here. So we've tried to intentionally put together initiatives in this company that does deliver on that fact that we do care about our people, and they are definitely our biggest asset. And if we're not going to actually develop initiatives and things that have value for them, then we're just like everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. And I'm excited to hear what the outcome is of that leadership program. Really, really cool. Let's get personal for 1 second. The other day, I took a phone call from someone asking to come onto the show, which was a bit of a paradigm shift for me and pretty cool. And this person is someone that I respect a lot. And I won't say who it is yet because their podcast is yet to be recorded. But as soon as I hung up the phone, I was home alone, and I like literally jumped in the air, and it just kind of happened organically. I just kind of like found myself doing ridiculous things. What about this business excites you? What about this business makes you however you celebrate wins in your life? What does that look like? And what about this business makes you go like put the phone down or send an email and like punch the air and be like, hell yes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's a struggle for, I think, business owners, or is that, you're so focused on trying to fix the problems or make things better that you're not maybe celebrating the wins. And I've definitely read that. I'm taking it to heart that we need to celebrate more wins along the way. For me, it's the small moments, and it's just when you can stop and look around. When we do local music on Thursday nights, and we feature some of the best local bands in the community. Ryan McAllister with the new company Valley Music Co. is doing amazing things. There's a collective of singer-songwriters called the Common Room Collective out here, about 30 or 40 singer-songwriters. We got to host them one night here and just pour beer for them and listen to their music. And
cool, man,
it's so inspiring. And we have to remember that hospitality is part of our whole culture, and our whole culture is best when it's fully enjoyed together. And that's why we have, if you can sit on the lawn and have a great beer and an amazing, pizza that was made from scratch, and you're listening to local music and your kids are playing in the background, those are the moments for me that I'm like, hell yeah, this is it.
Nice.
This is, and sometimes, I'll be with, Ashley, our brand manager, or whatever, at like we do a big music festival in the summer called Field Day Fest, and it's all sour beers, which we love. And then it's like all local music, which we love as well. And, sometimes we got to like nudge each other and be like, hey,
right,
look at this.
Yeah,
right?
We did this.
Is it great? It's great, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's fun when you can just, it's almost that like pinching yourself a little bit. It's those little moments. And yeah, I mean, and every time they bring out an amazing feature pizza, or, Spiker today was making, he's doing like a Thanksgiving special, and he's doing this
cool,
deep fried turkey thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's good. I love it. And the brew crew puts out so many good beers. Like, we're doing a bunch of wine hybrids right now. We're blending wine, yeasts, and actual wine into beers and experimenting with those flavors. And I do, a fist pump when I have an amazing beer that's been launched.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how does it manifest? Like what happens to your body when this stuff happens? Like you mentioned nudging, you mentioned little smiles, you mentioned fist pumps. Like how do you, Josh, whether you're in the public eye or alone, how does it manifest in your body? What happens? Are you punching the air? Are you doing a dance? What are you doing?
No, I think it's like I don't know. I think it's just a quiet happiness,
Cool.
When you're sitting, like when sitting on the lawn, you feel at peace, and you feel just kind of happiness.
Right. This project for me, this podcast, when I launched it in June 1st, it was very selfish. It was something that I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to get on a mic, and I wanted to create a platform for myself selfishly, and then others to come and tell their story about this industry, something I'm super passionate about. And I feel like learning more about now than I knew before this morning about Fieldhouse, I feel like this is such a good representation of the Josh that I think I know. Like I feel like listening to music and having the lawn and having a spot for the kids to play and having this cool food and this amazing beer is part of Fieldhouse. Is it a bit surreal for you, and is it a bit selfish? Like, are you like, this is kind of how I would love to spend my afternoon, and it just so happens that I'm facilitating this for hundreds, if not thousands of other people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, there's things that I wanted to see happen in this community that, obviously, like I was kind of like, hey, if no one's going to do these things, like I'll do them. That's
right.
Fine. But the other one, I think we do really think about, what does this community need and what's missing in our community? And that's really why we put this project together was, there was no place that adults and kids could go and equally enjoy themselves. At the time when we started, there was actually no craft breweries. We had, Ravens open up there and Old Abbey, in the process as well. So there was just, there was a gap, and there was just a gap in just, quality experiences in Abbotsford and in the Valley. So, yeah, I think there's definitely some selfish pieces around things I'd like to see, and the putting your stamp on things. But at the same time, I think it's really important to look out for other people and create things that have value for them too.
Yeah, 100%. And when I say selfish, I think it has a different stigma to that word. When I say it, excuse me, than I think the traditional term. But I feel like, I think any entrepreneur that I know, especially young entrepreneurs or heck, even people that have been around for a long, long time, it kind of starts out like that. It starts out like, what do I want to see in my community? What do I want to see as a reality? And then they go and create it. And it just so happens that it begins to ripple effect and have a positive benefit on many, many other people, which I think is so cool. Since you have listened to the show, this is not going to be a surprise for you, but we're about to get into the dun dun dun.
Oh man.
The show again is called the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast. So I have for you, Josh, I need your half a dozen have-tos. And again, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, and I'll educate Josh again on what it is, I need from you 1 to 6, so 1 to half a dozen of things you've experienced in your life related to this industry or not, beer related or not, food related or not, doesn't matter, but 1 to 6 things that you've done in your life, a book you read, a concert you've been to, a trip you've taken, a wine you've tried, a song you listen to, something that you've done in your life that you feel like our listeners have to do.
Okay. I know you're going to ask this question. Okay, so we'll try. And you let people not do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, you can get off with 2, 3.
Okay, I can do more than 2.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so, in my learning journey, I think you have to read books. I think, it's just, and I think that sounds generic, but there's no way to advance yourself and grow without getting, additional perspectives. I read a book recently called The Power of Other, and that was about how if we expect ourselves to learn based on our own knowledge base, we're only going to be able to teach ourselves so many things.
Right.
So, whether that's mentoring, sessions, which, I think are really, really valuable. And I reach out to people that are one step ahead of me. Guys like Jordan Foss from Steel and Oak have been a great, partner to me. John Crook from Flying Pig is, I met him way back in the design studio, and I've been able to have lunch with him, and he's doing great things, and learning from him, running a multi-restaurant business. So anyways, you got to reach out to contacts in the industry that you can just have lunch with or have a coffee with and ask questions. So learning, I think you have to learn, and then how you do that, I think, is up to you. But I read a lot. I mean, the books there's been so many influential books. We talked before, Danny Meyer, Setting the Table for me, really, really encouraged me to, the concepts in that book around focusing on hospitality and going above and beyond and taking care of people at the highest level. And the fact he's been so successful because of that, is really encouraging that people think, oh, if I do this, if I give away this or whatever it is, it's going to hurt my business. He's flipped that on his head. I know when he talked about the big downturns in New York and everybody was cutting costs and cutting staff and everybody loses in that scenario.
Right.
And he's like, no, we double down. We take care of our people. We do better for them. We give more things away. It's a time when people need us to take care of other people. So that's what we're going to do. And that's just like taking the high road, which is really inspiring.
Yeah. My dad always says there's a lot less traffic on the high road.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Yeah, that's true.
I love that.
I think that's good. That's
sorry, keep going. You're on a roll there.
Anyways, books. There's tons of books, and I really love our team, our avid readers. We have a book library in the office. You can sign cool. a book out and bring books back, and I put all the books in that I've read so other people can benefit from. And my staff will tell you, like every sentence is like, oh, I read this in the book, and they're just like, stop saying that. So that's learning and reading. This past summer, we got a chance to go to Italy for some food research. Yeah, with Bonnie, our head chef, she was the head chef at the time, and Ashley, our brand manager, because we're working on a new project. And I don't think it's like you have to go to Italy, although you should definitely go to Italy.
Yeah, you do.
That you should get out of your comfort zone and go experience other cultures. And my takeaway from Italy wasn't, oh, I want to go live in Italy. My takeaway was, wow, those people are passionate about what they have, and that's really inspiring. And we have so much here that we should be proud of, and sort of we kind of complain and don't make the most of it. I feel in like North American culture somehow, we have so much, but really, learning from other cultures and being like, what are we not doing in our culture that we could do a better job? So I think you should go to Italy, but you also should just go anywhere that you can learn and grow and get new perspectives and bring new ideas back. When we started this project, me and Parker hopped on a plane. We went to Holland for a week, and that's where our first 4 beers were all conceptualized. And again, such an important trip in the journey of this project was to get some fresh perspectives in a market that wasn't Belgium and wasn't Germany or wasn't the United States. It was a different type of market, and we found some really cool beers there that we brought back.
Yeah, it's cool what you can discover when you go to those kind of hidden or uncomfortable places.
Yeah. Other have-tos.
Those are 2 really good ones, by the way.
Yeah,
I feel like it could have been 3 technically.
Could have been 3. I could just do 3 because the 2.
Well, I feel like the first one kind of like led. That was kind of like 1A and 1B.
Okay, I'll take it. How specific? I mean, I think maybe this isn't that specific, but going back to, you have to invest in people, and you have to find a way to legitimately do that in a way that is meaningful. And I'm not saying we're perfect at it, but I know our intentions are good. And I just have seen so much value in the time we've taken to work with people and grow them, or if they're not being successful, figure out what we've done wrong and how we didn't support them in those things. And maybe I'll lead to my 4th have to.
Yeah, go. Yeah, segue.
I'm trying to get 6. I think as a business, you have to take responsibility for things. This goes back to old world thinking where businesses fire people for things that aren't those people's fault. They weren't trained properly. They weren't set up for success. They weren't, they're put into a new role. Those are not their problems. We believe that if someone's not succeeding in their role, there's one of 2 things. Either they aren't set up for success, they weren't trained, whatever it is, or they don't want to. Now, if they don't want to, then let's just agree together that this isn't a fit. Right. But if someone wants to, we will bend over backwards to make sure that they have everything they need and they have every chance they need to be successful here. And I think you have to invest in people. There's so much value that comes out of that, and we've just seen it in so many different ways. People's lives, changed and gone through things that like can bring tears to my eyes, around the different things that have happened in this business. And like that is, to me, is why a business should exist, to do good things for its people. So.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, again, man, I'm so excited for you. I'm going to save my diatribe for the end, but listening to you speak and seeing what you've created here, and man, I'm filled with so much pride for you and for your beautiful wife Gina and your kids, and now the people that you're affecting, like these lives that you're affecting, your employees and the people that come here and can have that space now in this town that didn't have this before. So I feel so proud that I can say that I know Josh from Fieldhouse. I think it's really cool, and I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to keep supporting you and your staff and your brand. I think it's amazing. Anyway, I won't get into my diatribe yet. I'll wait that till the end. Did you have any other have-tos?
I got one, yeah.
Cool.
This is number 6?
I think, you know what, we'll have to go back and like post-production and listen to it, but I think you're at 6.
I'm pretty sure I got 6 when you go back to the tape. The other one, and this is something we're really passionate about right now, and I can't stress this enough, and that's why it's the last most important one, is we have to invest into our food culture and our local food systems. We were at a point where, so much is wrong with our food systems because of globalization, because of the people that are at a race to make the most amount of money, and along the way, destroy the environment and destroy, our local food cultures, because, the way that people eat is they just go out to chain restaurants or supermarkets or Costco's, and that is not how you build communities. You build communities by investing and knowing who your farmers are, your producers are, your chefs are, and we need to localize food again into our own regional areas, and that feels good. And there's so much opportunity, and it's happening all around North America right now with these sort of transition communities transitioning away from the global side of food to the local side of food. There's a great quote that it's like, I probably have it here.
Go for it. Yeah, get it. Yeah, go.
And I just love it because, I'm a lover, not a fighter. But I think that the quote's something like that we're not here to fight big food. We're just going to walk away. We're just going to leave it and say, we don't want to be part of that anymore. Yeah. And we're going to develop our own food systems, our own food cultures. And that's what we're trying to do in the Valley right now. We've got a project called the Valley Food and Farm Collective. And it's meant to reshape our local food culture and systems and logistics and access. And that's, a partnership between the university's been a huge supporter, chefs, local producers. And we're trying to get it off the ground, and it's not for profit. It's hard to get it off the ground. Yeah. But I still believe no matter what, that it's important, and that I think that's the way things need to shift.
I get so excited, and I Lindsay, my partner, this kind of frustrates her at times, I know, but I get so many ideas. I don't know if you're the same, but I'm just constantly idea. But one thing I promise you, and everyone listening, and Josh, you can hold me to this. I am so inspired by people like you, and not just Josh, my friend, but Josh, the entrepreneur. And I'm so inspired by other people I've had on this podcast. And I don't know what it's going to look like, but I will do something. Hold me to this. I will do something with every single one of my guests that wants to be a part of it, because there is so much power in what you guys, meaning my guests, are doing. I'm talking the most insane collaboration of all times. When you're talking about the food culture, I'm thinking about my friends now over at YVR Prep, who are doing some amazing thing with their commissary kitchen, and they're just changing the game. Watch what they do, just watch what they're doing. It's going to be incredible. And then you have other people like Natalie over at East Van Jam, or Asha and Jess at Kula Foods, or Paul and his family over at Just Tea. These people they're motivated and they're focused. And I just think I want to connect all of you guys somehow, some way, to just build this transformer of a beast to even impact more change than what you guys are doing right now. So sorry, that just inspired me listening to you talking about creating that change. And I'm so blessed that I have people like you come onto the show and inspire these thoughts even more, and hopefully in our listeners as well.
Yeah, no, I'm an ideas. I wish there was more hours in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we do need ideas, and we need action too.
100%.
Ideas without action, just fall by the wayside. And it's so sad that there's so many good things that can happen. And if people don't say, hey, I'm going to put some time into this. And I think that's a piece of co-creation that we can work on, and say, if, you can't do 100% of a new idea, and I can't, because we don't have time, but we can all do 5%. And if that means we need to carry the one,
78 people.
36
I failed.
people,
I failed math in grade 8. I'm not too ashamed to say that. I'm not good at math. But yeah, no, it's a great point. We don't all have the bandwidth right now to do 100%, but can we leverage other things? That's what my coach has me doing right now, is leveraging. And I'm so lucky that this podcast is as successful as it is, and I've been able to leverage my relationship with my good friend Alita Wilson, who does all my sound engineering and post-production. That's how we do affect change. That's how we can get things really turn an idea into an execution. All right, next one. You know what's coming. It's the half a dozen haven't yets. So 1 to 6 things in your life that you have yet to experience that you want to share with listeners, kind of like a bucket list, if you will. It doesn't have to be 6, 1 to 6 of things, whether it be business related or personal related, relationship, more books, developmental stuff, whatever it is, anything coming to your mind. 1 to 6 of your haven't yets.
Okay. I think this one is on my radar, and I spend time thinking about it, but I haven't yet found that mentor groove that, I think some other people I've heard, and I know all the benefits, and I'm like, how do I get that thing that all these guys have, and you have, and Trevor has, and I talked to him quite a bit about that over coffee. I think that's something that I need, for myself, the beyond the book mentor, someone who really can be there, and we can kind of walk side by side, and I can learn from. And so I think that's finding that person that fits you and thinks a bit like you and understands what you want to do and maybe what you don't want to do, kind of thing. So I think that's the one for me that I haven't yet found. Maybe going back to for way back. I haven't yet found balance, maybe.
Right.
I just, we're still in early days, I think, in building this business, and we're just not there yet. And I think it's on my bucket list to get into a really nice rhythm with this, with this business or other projects where I have a little bit of extra time for my family and my friends and those kind of things. So I think I haven't yet quite got there yet, and that's okay.
Yep.
I'm telling myself that's okay.
No, it is. I'm a big believer in imbalance myself. So balance it's cool and it's sexy, but then you start looking around going, wait a second, this is almost too good. So I think a little imbalance is where creative stuff happens.
What else? Haven't yet. I haven't yet learned to play the piano.
You, sir.
You can teach me?
No, definitely not.
Okay,
I know like the chopstick, that one.
Okay.
Last night, again, I shout out to Paul at Just Tea. You guys should definitely meet. Paul, one of Paul's haven't yet, and you are the only two in 35 episodes I've recorded. The two people that have said piano. So I think you and Paul should get together and you should hire a private piano instructor and just learn how to tickle the ivory.
Okay. Let's do it.
Shout out Paul. Hey, hit up Josh.
Yeah. So
Is there a beer you haven't tried?
No, I've tried them. Not all of them.
Yeah.
I've tried all the ones I've wanted to.
Is there a meal you haven't had? A restaurant you haven't been to? A book you haven't read?
Yeah, there's probably some meals. When we were in Italy, we're in Modena, and so we're in this is kind of a romantic sort of story. It's our last night in Modena, and we get this recommendation to eat at this little panini place right down the road from Osteria Francescana.
Oh.
And so we went down there, and we're sitting there just in our last night, me and Bonnie and Ashley and my wife Gina, and all of a sudden I like at the end of the alley I watch Massimo Bottura walk by, and I was like, I think that was Massimo Bottura. And so then so we weren't sure, and so I kind of run down the alley, look, and nothing was gone, like a ghost, and we're like, oh, okay, well, gone. Anyways, wouldn't have that been cool? Anyways, we're sitting there, and now we're just into our dinner, and then he walks back, and then he's standing in front of his restaurant, and I turn to Bonnie, I'm like, if we don't go over and say hi now, like we're just gonna kick ourselves. So we go up to him, and we just said hello.
Ciao.
And ciao Massimo.
Yeah.
And we just had a quick little, very brief chat, and took a picture with him.
I think I saw a photo.
Standing in front of his restaurant. So, I mean, I guess that was I have to, but haven't yet is eaten in his restaurant.
Oh, okay.
We did eat in his other restaurant that we were able to get into.
And how was it?
It was great. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't obviously have the build up, the cachet of the real thing. But anyways, so I haven't yet done that. And I guess I in a bigger picture haven't yet, been to some of the places that I want to go from a food culture perspective. I think, Spain's on our list, and France, and, even Japan. One of our staff was just there, and
oh, cool.
It sounds so inspiring and such a, unique culture, that we can, I don't think you want to pull and take from cultures, but you want to be inspired by them, and then how do you reappropriate those ideas in with our own lens and do those kind of cool take some inspiration and implement them here.
The last question I have for you, and feel free to duck and weave around this if you want, but I feel like it's something that I would love to get your take on. I know, again, personally knowing you, how big of a part your father played in your life when he was with you and with us holistically and with your family. And I know that you fondly look back on that. And I know whenever his anniversary comes up, you're always quick to share like a few thoughts on social media. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. And I'm lucky enough to have my father with me. Lindsay unfortunately lost her father 11 years ago as well. But I wanted to quickly touch on, what do you think, if you can articulate it with vocabulary, what do you think your father would say about his son today doing what you do? And I don't mean just running Fieldhouse. I mean, when you get up and the mindset you have and your self-improvement and the people you're affecting and all those things, what would your dad say?
Oh man, you're just sticking it to people here on this show. I don't. My dad was such a humble man, and he wasn't about big level success or anything. I don't think he would be like, oh, look at all the success you've had or anything like that. I think he just wanted us to be good people, and he was that was his thing, and he always left the house. He's like, okay, be good. It's like, yep, thanks, Dad. Yeah. And I think that. Yeah, I think that I think he would like that, that we're spending time as a business, taking care of people, because that's what I think that was something that he did. And I don't know. I guess, he passed away, quite a while ago now when I was pretty young. And, I think I missed out on some of those years where to make some of those bonds as an adult you do. And so, I don't know. I think he'd be proud but I think the nice thing was he was always proud of us no matter what. And
right.
That was never a question. My mom too. She's, they've afforded us that we could fail and we could try things but they would always be proud of us. There was no letting them down ever. So
that's amazing, man. I'm so inspired by that. And I'm so inspired by you and what you've done. And I'll go off on my diatribe now. I want to take a moment before we end this podcast and just say how much pride I have watching you do what you do. And I know you and I haven't connected as much as I would like over the last couple of years, but I remember vividly, I think it's probably been, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or 7 months ago, I was parking my vehicle. And as I was parking my vehicle, I saw a very clean, very nicely appointed van, and slapped on the side of that van was this really sexy brand, and it said Fieldhouse Brewing. And I was motivated to pick up my phone and send you a text and say, this is just what I saw. And I'm just so happy for you and so inspired by what you're doing and how you're doing it. And as I said earlier, if there's anything I can do or we can do on the show to help support your projects and what you're doing, like, you bet your ass we're going to do it. So I want to thank you so much for creating this space for your consumers. I want to thank you for creating it for your staff, and I want to thank you for creating it for yourself. And then lastly, for creating it for your family, because your kids are watching you every single day. And I think what you're doing is you're populating the 2%. You're showing your kids that you don't really need to just go and get a job. If you want to create something, go and create it. And if you're a good person, like your dad says, be good. Just watch the people that are attracted to that and want to be around that. And I think, again, I haven't been in this space when it's open and bustling and people all around, but I feel like people are going to really go to bat for you in this company because of who you are as a person and who you are as a man. So I'm super proud to know you and call you a friend, and super proud to see the success you've had as a business. And I think it's just amazing that we have an opportunity like today to sit down and talk about this industry that we're both super passionate about. And I can't wait to see what is going to happen with this business 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to congratulate you and tell you that you populate my mind a lot, especially when I see your brand in and around town. So thank you for motivating me to do more as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thank you. Thanks for your time. And thanks for doing this project. I mean, going back to just, holding you accountable, like, bring people together, around food and around hospitality. It's an inspiring thing, and we need more people connecting people. And let's work on changing that perspective that people, are in their silos. Let's bring people together. And I think that people will be into it.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely will. And I appreciate you holding me accountable to that. And you guys listening as well, please do. And if you have any ideas or what that might look like, please do reach out, shoot me an email or shoot me a tweet or DM me on social media. I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning in week after week. It is such a pleasure for me to sit down with people like Josh and create content for you guys to consume. I hope you take a lot from it. Selfishly, I know I do. That is Josh. I am Brad. This is Fieldhouse Brewing, and this is also the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast. Until next time, guys, be good and do good. That's it. Sweet. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. We did it.